Client communication call. The real sales starts after somebody hires you. So delivering on your communication promise is essential on creating a predictable client experience and getting more referrals in the future. Now, how do we set up this call? The first thing you want to do is send an email 24 hours prior to the meeting, and here's what the email looks like. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Seller, prior to our call on Tuesday at 5 p.m., I just want to give you the materials to review in advance. We've attached links to the number of showings that's in our showing feedback document. Please take the time to review all the feedback as well as the number of showings and write down any questions you have. Additionally, there's a link below to the results of our marketing. Please pay attention to the clicks, which is online showings, the number of views, the number of buyers that have seen your property, as well as the time spent on listing, which is showing essentially exactly what buyers are doing on your listing. Additionally, you could see where buyers in the country are looking, as down to the devices that they're looking on. And again, please write down any questions you have. Below is a link to our interactive market update. We've gone ahead and put comments for any of the changes that we see in the market are pertinent to discuss. Please go in and review, and again, write down any questions you have. During our meeting, we're going to go through all four of these key areas, as well as address any questions, concerns, or anything that you need clarity on. This is setting up the customer service meeting. Now, you're going to get on the call, and this is the exact framework script that you're going to want to follow when having the meeting. First and foremost, I just want to kind of provide an agenda. I want to address any questions or concerns you have on the time. We want to review the number of showings, the specific buyer feedback, results from our marketing, and we're going to end with any changes there are to the market, which are a few that we should discuss. And lastly, we'll provide you another opportunity to discuss any questions you have and concerns on what we've discussed this evening. The next step is saying, do you have any questions and concerns at this time? This is the place where you really need to listen and keep asking questions to dig deeper. Because every question and concern could be something problematic in the future. You'll want to document all these questions and concerns down and put them in the notes section of your CRM as well as the answers you provided, because at the end of all of this, you need something to go back to. The next step in the process is going through the number of showings and feedback you had for the week. Now, my suggestion is in the showing feedback doc, number one is you track the number of showings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and do it week by week and then make a summary total. So go through the showings you had that week, go through the buyer feedback one by one and ask them if they have any questions, concerns, thoughts, and overall you provide your interpretation of the feedback and see what their interpretation of the feedback is. Number 3, going through the insights reports. When going through insights reports, you're going to want to create the experience. We're going to go through again. If you see that, how many clicks were on the property? Ask them the question so they're engaged in the process. This many. So essentially you had this many online showings. This says ad views. This is how many buyers saw your home. How many buyers saw your home? Go through that number with them. The next step is, and this is the best part, is you want to know exactly what buyers are doing on your listing? Pull up your listing on compass.com. Help them get it on their phone, pull up the listing, and say, I just want you to scroll through and look at it, and I'll tell you when to stop. Look at the pictures, read the copy, and you hit your stopwatch. Literally sit there and stop at the exact time that people are on there. And that will show them the experience of the average time someone spent on their listing, and then you could say, this converted into blank amount of showings, or buyers didn't do anything. It's an opportunity to always ask them, do you feel that there's anything we should change in the imagery, the marketing, the positioning? And they're going to say no, because you already got them to agree in a prior email where you shared your assets in advance. I hope you guys are automatically realizing how all of this stuff is one system geared to build on each other. Now you're going to go through collections and you're going to go through the house by house update, provide them the inferences, that local market expert knowledge you have, and see what they think about it. Get their opinion, meet them where they are, and ultimately then ask them if it's time for a price improvement. Say, look, based on what your neighbors are willing to accept for homes and other buyers are willing to pay for homes, do you think this is a good time to consider a price improvement? No or yes. If they say no and it's your early calls, leave it alone. But once you get past that average days on market based on sold properties and contract properties, it's time to have the conversation. Now, after all this is done, you want to go back and say, do you have any questions or concerns, or do you feel there are any improvements, adjustments we need to make at this time? See what they say. Our recommendation is share your recommendation. And at the end, say that we'll put all of this in a recap email, and we want to make sure that we give you time to adequately think through any decision you want to make or not make. Now, the last step is putting together your recap email. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Seller, thank you for taking the time to meet with me this evening. I just wanted to provide some highlights from our meeting. We discussed that there were a blank amount of showings, and this was the overall feedback, and you felt this way, and this is where we aligned. Additionally, we went through the results of our marketing, and you felt blank, and we shared this, and this is where we aligned. Ultimately, these were the changes in the market, and we agreed that based on the average days on market, we still have 2 weeks to see if we can get an offer before we consider a price improvement. Ultimately, here are the next steps we aligned on. I want to make sure that I documented and I listened to everything correctly. So if anything is missing from this email, or there's context addition you'd like to provide, or something you'd like to add after spending a night and sleeping on it, please let us know so that we could document everything properly and send it back and keep it in our notes as well. Looking forward to hearing from you. Chirag. And that's it. You send the email, and remember, these are all things that you go back to, because sellers are notorious for having amnesia and they forget what they agreed to. You have an email, you have notes, you guys have multiple different areas where you did this. As a bonus, if you want to take the notes in the recap you do, put it in the notes section of the calendar invite and let them know at the end of every meeting, we'll send a recap email as well as put all the high-level notes in the calendar invite. So at any time, if you want to access what we discussed at a high level, you can just go back to our communication meeting in the calendar and the notes will all be there. As always, our goal is to create clarity through communication and predictable client experiences. This is how to set up, facilitate, and post-process a customer service call.